Yep.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We are in Proverbs 19. If you can open your Bible and get there, that would be great. If you don't have a Bible and need one, back along this wall, along the right-hand side, there's Bibles, or you may find some in the chairs in front of you. And I'll open up in prayer. Oh Lord, Heavenly Gracious Father, we praise you for this time to get together and learn and study your word. Lord, just guide me, use me. May I just be the tool and the vessel you use. I just praise you and thank you. In Jesus' holy, precious name I pray, Lord. Amen. All righty. We have Brother Solomon here talking. Proverbs 19:1. Better is the poor who walks in his integrity than the one who is perverse in his lips and is a fool. You know what? I think I'm going to put these things on. It helps a little bit. A little. All right. This than that proverb asserts that ethical qualities are more important than material possessions. Though being poor is a disadvantage, if the poor man is honest, meaning he walks in his integrity, he is still far better off than the lying fool whose words distort the truth, even if such a fool is wealthy. Long term, and certainly in light of eternity to come, honesty is the best policy. I don't know if you ever all heard that. I know since I was a wee little tyke, my mom used to tell me, honesty is the best policy, son. And you know, that is something to live by. Verse 2. Also, it is not good for a soul to be without knowledge, and he sins who hastens with his feet. Okay, let me unpack this a little bit. It is not good for a soul to be without knowledge. When a person, or a soul, has no wisdom, is without knowledge, it is never good. It may be common, but it is not good. We should strive to learn. If we read God's word, we are going to continually learn. And that's a good thing to do. Okay, and where it says, and he who sins hastens with his feet, Solomon listed a second thing that was no good. The one who rushes towards sin. That means where he says hastens with his feet. On this side of eternity, we will also struggle with sin. But we don't have to run towards it. We should be those who battle against sin, not run towards it. And we definitely don't want to live in it. You ever see some of those people who just see sin and just want to run towards it? Let me think. This is the world we live in, but there's a place called Sin City. You know, I've never been there. Don't think I ever want to go just because of what the nickname is, and that's Las Vegas, Sin City. Whole lot of sinning going on there. Not a place that I strive to go. You guys kind of get the comparison here? If it's sin, we should run from it. Because if we're running from sin, if we're thinking about God, we're running towards God. And that's where we should really be running towards. Because honestly, if we're running towards God, what's the other way? Sin. So it's a good thing to run towards God because we're running away from sin. Okay, verse 3. The foolishness of a man twists his way, and his heart frets against the Lord. Fools will try to blame God when they ruin their lives. How many people have heard that? It's all God's fault. He's the reason I'm here. He's the reason I'm in this predicament. You're right. You are so right, Huxley. It's my own fault. Okay, the first line establishes the fact that it is man's folly, not God's, that ruins his life. The second adds that he rages against God. The fool is not willing to accept responsibility as the failures as his own. Unfortunately, sometimes we may do that ourselves, or we see it in other people when they do it. It's always God's fault. God did this, God did that, God allowed this to happen. It's all God, God, God. No. We need to take a step back and look, what did we do to get where we're at? What did we do? What choices did we make to get us where we're at? That's something we need to think about. Verse 4. Wealth makes many friends. Yeah. But the poor is separated from his friend. Wealth maketh many friends. For people seek the favor of the wealthy, in the hope of attaining some benefit for themselves in the name of friendship. But the poor is separated from his neighbor. It is the way of the world to leave the impoverished to his own resources and to ignore him. Notice I said the world, not from fellow believers. And when the money or access to it is gone, so isn't the fair-weathered friend. Haven't we all seen this?
Yeah.
Oh, you got money? Oh, buddy.
Yeah, you're my buddy.
Come on over here. Let's be friends. Yeah, I know you don't know me. I know you're not your third cousin from your mother's side, brother. No, but we should be friends. You know, there's nothing I can do for you, but it's an advantage to be my friend. Money draws all kinds of bad things. Bad things. Not good. There's something I'll talk about later on, but you ever see millionaires? Just won the lottery? Boy, I got all these people that want all this stuff from me, and boy, I got all kinds of friends. Yep, sure do. Yep, sure do. Verse 5, a false witness will not go unpunished, and he who speaks lies will not escape. Proverbs indicates and tells us that liars are fools. And we learn that in verse 1. This proverb explains one reason why. Liars, particularly those who perjure themselves, like in court. Because false witness, normally you hear this term in courtroom. You hear it all the time. You perjure themselves, they're in court. And they will not escape judgment. Even if they would get away with it in this world, they will not go unpunished before God and before the judgment throne. Ain't going to happen, because God knows all and sees all, and God will be the judge in the very end. Verse 6, many entreat the favor of nobility, and every man is a friend to one who gives gifts. Does everybody know what nobility means? That's a big term, like in England. It's somebody who is, I'm a lord, I'm a duke. Just like this week, one of them dudes over in England just passed away. The Queen's husband. Yeah, it's a royalty name.
Prince Philip.
Prince Philip, there we go. That's kind of what that means. Okay, let me unpack this one a little bit. A generous man could also be translated as a ruler or a nobleman. Here it suggests a powerful, wealthy man who is generous. He has many friends who seek his favor because he gives gifts to them. And that is the reason why. Verse 7. All the brothers of the poor hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He may pursue them with words, yet they abandon him. Now here we see the poor man is not very popular because he is so needy. People cannot get anything out of him, and they do not want to be bothered with his needs. Even his brothers and relatives hate him and wish to be rid of him. It tells us right there in verse 7. Verse 8. He who gets wisdom loves his own soul. He who keeps understanding will find good. It is in one's own best interest to acquire and try to attain wisdom. It is so good and helpful to us that we can and should get wisdom simply out of self-interest. Such a person loves himself because he will find what is good, i.e., an example, the blessings that come from the Lord's wisdom. God's word right here, if we follow it, there are so many blessings that come from it. Do we all agree?
Yes.
There are so many things we follow. The Lord wants to bless us. He has blessings waiting to pour out on us if we listen to him. He just wants to give them. Just like son, daughter, I'm just waiting for you to listen so I can just pour out of these things out on you. Just ponder and think about that. So many things he's just waiting to give us. It's just amazing. It's awe-inspiring. So many things. We just need to listen. Excuse me. All right. Verse 9. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who speaks lies shall perish. This proverb is identical to 19:5, except for the last verb in the proverb, which specifies the judgment the liar faces. He will perish in the end. He shall perish. Will die. Lying is not a good thing. Verse 10. Luxury is not fitting for a fool, much less for a servant to rule over princes. Let me unpack this. It just took me a little bit to get this one. All right. It is inappropriate, indeed absurd, for a fool to enjoy the luxury of wealth. This only encourages him in his folly. It is even more absurd, if not crazy, for a slave to rule over princes, because this has a more widespread effect. The statement assumes that the slave is incompetent to rule. Such a one becomes an insufferable despot, a tyrant who brings incompetence, mismanagement, abuse of power, corruption, injustice, etc. Both states of affairs turn the world upside down, at least until God returns. And that'll be a good thing. Haven't we seen or heard people who have won millions of dollars? This is what I'm talking about in the lottery. They couldn't manage their little money before, and after the increase of wealth, they lose it all in a matter of 2 or 3 years. Wow, I just won $5 million in the lottery. Woo, yay! I got all these friends now. Look at all these friends. Yeah, I got all these cars. I got 6, 7 cars. I got 2, 3 houses. Woo, I'm rolling in the dough. 3 years later, I'm in a welfare line. Where did your money go? I don't know. I drank it. I did drugs. I spent it here, spent it there. Had all these friends. Where's all your friends now? I don't know. Yeah, there's great management money, wasn't it? Didn't you take like 20% and put in savings bonds, the bank, let draw interest, so you could live off the interest? No. Yeah, you managed the money well. No, sure didn't. So that's what they're talking about when I was talking about it's not fitting for a fool to have that much money. It's not good. Okay, verse 11. The discretion of a man who makes him slow to anger, and his glory is to overlook a transgression. Patience is prudent and honorable. Some of us have a hard time with patience. The first line declares that prudence or wisdom causes patience. This is good sense. It makes the man even-tempered. The second line, a wise man or woman knows that they have been forgiven much, and this shapes how they deal with others. They don't act as if they must hold everyone accountable for every transgression or wrongdoing, but know when to overlook a transgression. Sometimes people, you need to let things slide. We can't hold everybody accountable for everything they do wrong to us. Otherwise, you're going to be a hardened person. sometimes you need to learn to let things go. It's difficult. Can't hold everybody to the fire about everything. You did this wrong. Okay, where's the grace? God gives us grace. You need to learn to give people grace around you. It'd be so much better if we could learn to do that. You need to be able to, as it says, overlook a transgression. We need to be able to do that. Because if we don't, it's going to eat you up. I remember what that person did. I remember. Do you think that person's thinking about that? No, but you're holding it. Sometimes you just need to overlook it. Give them some grace. Verse 12. The king's wrath is like the roaring of a lion, but his favor is like the dew on the grass. Dew on the grass is kind of cool. And I will explain that. Let me unpack this one. Better to gain the king's favor rather than to provoke his wrath or his anger. The king's wrath signals danger to life, limb, property, like the roaring of a lion, because a lion can destroy all them things. In contrast, his favor indicates blessing, like the dew on the grass, which is so crucial to life in Israel's arid climate. Let me explain a little bit about that. Another form of living water that was important biblically is something that we hardly think about, which is dew. In Israel, it does not rain for half the year. Can you imagine that? Not rain for half the year? It's not like that here. But for half the year, it doesn't rain. And were it not for the dew in the summer, all plant life would die. Gone. No plant life in the summer. We just kill it. In fact, dew and rain are equally important to the crops in Israel. If there is no rain in the winter season, the grass and early crops do not grow. If no dew in the summer, later crops dry up, and the fruit does not mature. If there are many nights without dew, it constitutes a drought in their thinking. I just found that amazing, because there's the sea right next to Israel, and the moisture comes off the sea and goes in the low-lying valley, and it causes the dew, and that's where the water comes from. I was like, wow, God had a plan. God really had a plan and thought everything out for that country. It's just amazing. Just amazing. Verse 13. A foolish son is the ruin of his father, and the contentions of a wife are a continual dripping. All right, ladies, don't get your feathers all ruffled. Relax. Before I even explain this, just listen to the explanation. Don't yell at me. Don't be throwing fruits and vegetables at me. Unless you're an apple. Like a good, delicious apple. Okay. It is heart-wrenching to any parent to have a foolish son or daughter. You try to pour so much into them. God's word, God's morals, your experiences, so they don't have to repeat your mistakes or failures, and watch them get gobbled up by the world, by Satan's bait. This may run from grief to ruin, as the grief destroys the father's or the parent's health and life, as he or she ruins himself to try and rescue the foolish son or daughter. Because we as parents try to reach out and help them as much as we can. We get that life preserver, continually trying to throw it out. Continue. We just need to continually pray for them. Because ultimately, if we do not pour God's wisdom into them young and pour our love into them young, it's still their choice when they get older. And it's hard for some people to hear that. As a parent, it's still hard to say it. It's their choice. We can love them. We can tell them God loves them. We can show them the word, but it's still their choice. And we need to leave it. I love you. You know, God loves you. hope and pray to change. Second, the relentless contention of his nagging wife, like a constant dripping of a leaky roof. Thank God the roof is fixed.
It's like Chinese torture.
Wear him down and drive him to despair. So, constant drip. When I was a kid, they called it, no, that's not politically correct anymore. Some type of dripping is a torture.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. We won't go there because I want to be politically correct. All right. Yeah, it's a torture. A drip right here in the middle of the forehead. Constant dripping will drive you insane. I remember that from when I was a kid. All right, verse 14. Houses and riches are their inheritance from fathers, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. Absent a foolish son, fathers can pass on the family inheritance and thereby preserve the family's house and wealth. A gift beyond the inheritance one may receive from fathers is the gift from God. A prudent wife, a wife of wisdom, self-control, and appropriate living, is a greater gift than houses and riches. A wife who is not prudent may waste whatever wealthy man has. Every man with a prudent wise wife should give thanks to the Lord. And that is never a truer statement. I thank the Lord for my wife. Verse 15. Laziness casts one into a deep sleep, and an idle person will suffer hunger. His laziness casts the idle slacker into a deep sleep. He is in such a stupor that he is useless, unable to meet his most basic needs, such as satisfying his hunger. Indeed, he would rather sleep than eat. One cannot work if one does not sleep. I've seen people who are in this state. All they do is sleep. They don't get up and go to work. They don't make an attempt to get a job. They're in a sad state. I'm sure some of you have seen that. Lived it maybe, have family members, friends, and all they do is lay around the house and do nothing. And it's very unfortunate. Verse 16. He who keeps the commandment keeps his soul, but he who is careless of his ways will die. Obedience to the word of God given through his apostles is life-giving. The word keeps is used in two senses. The one who keeps God's wise commandment keeps his life. He contrasts with one who is careless of, or literally, who despises his conduct. Disrespectful, contemptuous, and unconcerned about his lifestyle and its consequences. He engages in foolishness, stupid and wicked behavior that leads to his demise, and he will die. And surely he will attempt to drag those down who are around with him. You ever seen a sinking ship? When it goes down, they try and drag people down that are around him. That's what they're talking about. Verse 17. He who has pity on the poor lends to the Lord. And he, notice it's capitalized, we're talking about the Lord, will pay back what he has given. The Lord rewards those who are charitable. This proverb teaches that the Lord will reward those who give to the poor. The one who is gracious or kind to the poor is actually lending to the Lord, for the Lord will repay or reward him for his deed. This promise of reward does not necessarily mean or signify that he will get his money back. The rewards in Proverbs involve life and prosperity in general, whether here or in the hereafter. So you can't say, wow, I just gave him $1,000. God's going to give me $1,000 next week. I'm all set. You know, I had that extra money. Oh, better yet, I just got my $1,400 stimulus check. Well, he wants a new car, I'll give it to him. All right, God, you got 2 weeks to give me that $1,400 back. I know it's guaranteed it's coming. No. It don't work like that. No, 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 no. So don't even think like that. No. And if you're thinking like that, I call that stinking thinking, and you're wrong. So we need to change that thinking. If you're thinking like that, keep coming to classes, keep learning with us, and you learn what the right way of thinking is. I encourage you on the internet. Keep watching our shows and you learn more. All righty. Verse 18. Chasten your son while there is hope, or daughter, and do not set your heart on his destruction. There is not an endless window of opportunity of time to chasten and wisely disciple our children. Age and circumstances limit the opportunity for effectively training them. So, it must be done while there is hope and we can still lead them by example. There may come the time when you wish you had done much, much, much more to chasten your son or daughter. Let's not live with regrets and seize the moment to teach them correctly and what the Lord has for them. And if we fail to chasten your son, your children, or your daughter in their opportunity, in the opportune season, is to actually work for his or her destruction. Many parents bring much destruction to their children through neglect, but not outright abuse. And unfortunately, I see it happen all the time. I was kind of probably harder on my kids because I wanted the best for them and I wanted them to know who God was, and they both do. Definitely strict. But I didn't let it slide. I don't want to go to church today, Dad. That's great. I'm glad you don't want something, but you're still coming. But unfortunately, I see these parents. I don't want to church today, Mom and Dad. Okay, you're okay, stay home. No, you need to encourage kids. They need to come to church. Because, well, when they get 13, well, Mom, Dad, you said I didn't have to go. That's the most time that they need it. That's when the outside world is going to affect them the most. If you don't bring them up continually, that's when they're going to start drifting, throw the temper tantrums, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Bring them up when they're small, then they're going to want to be, they're going to know God's word, they're going to know how important it is, and be close to the Lord. And it's so important. Thank you, parents. Bring your children. Very important. Verse 19. A man of great wrath will suffer punishment, for if you rescue him, you will have to do it again. Very true. This verse will point is that a hot-tempered person will be constantly in trouble. Pay the penalty suggests paying a fine, so the trouble could be legal. In the second line, the warning is given that if you save this person from legal troubles, you will have to do it again and again. Unless he changes or she changes, I guess it depends, they will always need a bailing out. And we have personally seen that within our church. We constantly have to bail out certain people from jail. And why? It's because they choose not to change. It's very sad. Verse 20. Listen to counsel and receive instruction, that you may be wise in your latter days. Becoming wise does not happen overnight. There's no instant pill. There's no instant anything. It requires a humble, ongoing commitment to listen to counsel and accept the discipline from the wise. Then sometime in the future, you'll become wise. It doesn't happen overnight. The rest of your days is better translated your future days. And the line probably suggests that as young and experienced alike continue to hear wisdom, they grow wiser still. I'm sure Brother Walter, look in the room, he's probably the most seasoned gentleman we have. He is probably still learning to this day.
Hey.
I don't think we ever stop learning.
Right.
If you stop learning, you become stagnant.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing. We should always strive to learn something. Verse 21. There are many plans in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord's counsel that will stand. The success of our plans depends on the will of God, and are we in alignment with it? In the form of a contrast, the proverb teaches that only those plans that God approves will succeed. People have many plans, but the Lord's counsel or purpose will stand. We humans are diverse and uncertain. God is absolute, wise, and sure. Verse 22. What is desired in a man is kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar. Kindness here probably carries the meaning of loving loyalty, so characteristic of the Lord himself, rather than simple human kindness. People rightly desire or value loyalty. Indeed, it is more desirable and valuable than wealth. That is why it is better to be poor than to be a liar. Who is unfaithful? The liar is unfaithful and does not keep his promises. Unfortunately, I'm sure we've all ran across that person who cannot keep up with what they say. Verse 23. The fear of the Lord leads to life, and he who has it will abide in satisfaction. He will not be visited with evil. The fear of the Lord brings great blessings. It leads to life. The world, the flesh, and the devil want to convince us that a life founded on the fear of the Lord leads to misery, but the exact opposite is true. We have a sense of contentment because the Lord meets one's needs and security, because the Lord delivers us from calamity. The Lord loves us, and we have a place in this afterlife. Woohoo, heaven. Scare me with heaven. I don't think so. It's going to be a great place.
Yep. Amen.
Verse 24. A lazy man... Sorry. Just chuckle at this one. A lazy man buries his hand in the bowl and will not so much as bring it to his mouth again. Let me unpack this a little. Even writing this, it made me laugh. All right. This is a humorous proverb which pictures a lazy man, we'll call him the sluggard, is too lazy even to feed himself. So I can see a guy kick back on the couch, get his hand in the bowl. Let me see, the bowl will be filled with, let's just call it popcorn. Okay, put a dish of food before him, and he may summon the strength to stick his hand in the food, but he will never get around to lifting the food to put into his mouth. Perhaps he thinks to himself, too exhausted to do so, or he does not want to be bothered, or maybe he just falls asleep. In any case, his slothfulness will lead to his starvation. The proverb may also suggest that the loafer is too lazy to take advantage of good opportunities. Yep. I thought that was kind of humorous. Verse 25. Strike a scoffer, and the simple will become wary. Rebuke one who has understanding, and he will discern knowledge. The scoffer is so close-minded that a beating will make no impression on him. He will just shrug it off. Still, Even if the punishment does the scoffer no good, seeing it can teach the simple to be wise, or at least shrewd enough to avoid such a beating. But a wise man of understanding is so sensitive that he needs no shock treatment like a beating. A word of rebuke or reprove is enough for him to gain even more knowledge. The wise are humbly teachable. And we've used this word discern many, many times. And I went to the Webster's Dictionary of 1828, and I got the definition, the number one definition of 1828, and it says, to see or understand the difference, to make distinction, as to discern between good and evil, truth and falsehood. So there's your definition for discern. Verse 26, he who mistreats his father and chases away his mother is a son who loves them.
No.
Oh, you guys are awake. Okay, I was just checking. All right. Verse 26, try that again. He who mistreats his father and chases away his mother is a son who causes shame and brings reproach. All right. Now, it was, I think 3 years ago, we taught it. Shame is big in the Middle East. Not so much here in the U.S. Shame is like, whatever. Shame is huge over there. To bring shame upon a family is almost just as bad as death. Shame is horrible. You shame your family, you shame it's worse than death. It's really big over there. Shame can last for generations. That's how bad shame is. All right, let me explain this a little. One kind of fool who brings grief to his parents is the one who assaults his father and drives his mother away. He might do so by being a passive sloth, actively squandering the family fortune in riotous living, we've heard this before, and or by the overt crime of plundering the father after his death and evicting the mother to seize the inheritance. Remember, the time that this was written, women did not have very many rights. So the son's like, get out. This is my house. I mean, that would be horrible. Such a son shames and disgraces not only his parents, but himself. And that would just be horrible. That's where the whole shame comes in. Verse 27, cease listening to instruction, my son, and you will stray from the words of knowledge. This explains how a son might sink so low. He stops listening to his parents. Oh, I know it all. I don't need to listen to them. No, I got it all. I got it. I know it all. He stops listening to his parents' discipline, instruction, and strays away from the word of God. But what goes for a son goes for anyone. The wise man never arrives, and he knows it. So he is always prepared to be corrected, lest he wander further from wisdom. So a wise man is always ready to be corrected. If, say I'm the wise man, okay, I did this wrong, please explain to me. Let me learn. You say I did it wrong, please explain to me. A wise man is always ready for correction, and that's a good thing. Let me learn more. Teach me if I've done something wrong. Teach me. Explain to me so I can be much more wiser, so I can share that knowledge with somebody else. And that's exactly what they're talking about. Verse 28. A disputable witness scorns justice, and the mouth of the wicked devours iniquity. A slick or worthless witness mocks justice by his false testimony. He does so because he is wicked to the core. and he is not a follower of Christ. He is a follower of Satan, whether he realizes it or not. Verse 29, judgments are prepared for scoffers, and beatings for the backs of fools. Though they mock it, justice will be served. God will not be mocked. They can expect divine judgments or even human justice. Blows for the backs of fools, which they deserve. So they're either going to be served here, justice in the courts here on this world, or they will be judged by God no matter what. And that was kind of a different place to end it, but that's where Proverbs 19 ends. Let me mosey on up here. Click, clock, click, clock, click, clock, click, clock.